Hi, it's Adam from RC Action Australia. How's everybody out there today? So in today's video, guys, we're finally going to look at the Tamiya MF01X. So the one that I have is the Suzuki Jimny body, and I do believe it's not the short wheelbase, it's not the long wheelbase, it's sort of the in-between one. So obviously this is the car here, guys. I have started to disassemble it. As you can see, it's a sort of short wheelbase, all-wheel drive chassis vehicle. Now, I had been sort of chasing one of these for a while, and one of the reasons that I was looking at buying one, guys, is because I do have a lot of respect for the Tamiya TL01 chassis, and I do believe I sort of think that the MF01X is a smaller version of the TL01. So as you can see, they've got this central chassis component here, gearbox on each end, and the drive shaft connecting the two. So although this is very different, there's a lot of parts on this that are very similar. So all of the gears are very similar, so there's a few interchangeable pieces. So we'll get on to the MF01X. So I purchased this car on Gumtree. I paid a very good price for it. It did come with an original body, but I sold the body and recouped about 40 to 50% of my initial outlay just for the body. I then took a look at the car and noticed that it was missing a few parts. So I got on eBay. Tony's Tamiya Parts hooked me up with the missing parts, so I bought myself a new body. So Tony's Tamiya Parts, brand new body. I then purchased the mirrors for the body, and then obviously the decals. I noticed that there was a few pieces on the chassis missing from this. So I got on and purchased the full A parts for the car. Now the actual chassis on this is not, it's not too bad, guys, but there was a few bits and pieces that were missing, so I had to buy the complete chassis for it. Now I do plan on running this car and using it, so I'm probably just going to replace everything and start from new. So I have already started to strip this car down, and there was a few things that I really found quite good when I stripped it. So this car, well, this particular version of the MF01X doesn't have ball diffs, didn't come with oil dampers, and just came with a standard 540 style motor. Now I am aware that there were some limited edition runs of this that did come with a torque tune, did come with oil dampers, and there's a little bit of up in the air as to whether it came with ball diffs. I don't think it did, but definitely the version that I've taken hold of here is just the plain Jane MF01X. So let's pull this car apart, guys. I'll show you some exciting things that I found inside of it. So let's crack on. So as you can see, guys, we've got the chassis here of the car. It's got rally block tyres. Our motor mounts at the back, and let's pick the car up there so you can see the design of the car and sort of how I sort of have likened it to the design of the TL01 there. So let's pull this car apart, guys. I'll show you what was inside. I've stripped off the drive shaft, so it did have an optioned Tamiya hop-up drive shaft in the car, which was good. This, like I said before, this one just came with the friction shocks, so I've ordered some oil dampers. So that's all the sort of external parts pulled off the car. So I've already undone the chassis, hence why it looks like it's falling apart, sorry guys, just to make it easier for the video. So this car is purely a gearbox that is attached to the back, and obviously our motor mounts in the back of the gearbox here. We then have the the central part of the car, because this does come in multiple wheelbases. So obviously this bolts together and basically it connects the rear to the front. And there is some spaces. I do believe that this section here, you can space the wheelbase of the car according to which car you're building. So when I pulled this apart, I was quite pleasantly surprised. So you've got a few screws top and bottom that help you keep the gearbox together, but it just slides apart quite nicely. So this car has, well, it's a bit of a mixed basket, to be honest. It has some bearings, it has some metal bushings, but the big thing for me was, guys, that this car actually came with, well, someone's upgraded it to the ball diffs. So this has got the TA03 rear ball diff in the car there. And if we have a quick look at the front of the gearbox, again, there's multiple screws along the chassis here and in the front that just basically sandwich these two pieces together. So it opens up quite nicely, just like that. And as we can see, guys, the front gearbox has bearings, and again we find ourselves with the ball diff in the front. Now the front ball diff is a one that you'd put in the manta ray. I'll put exactly the part number down below, guys. And yes, so I was quite pleasantly surprised, because if you do get on eBay, I think these are around $50, and I think the rear one is around $60. So if we take that into consideration, I paid similar money for the whole car than one ball diff is worth. So very, very pleased with that, guys. And if we do take a look at the rear gearbox here, we will find that the Tamiya TL01 high-speed gear set is the exact same gears that is in the back. So I'll probably keep this car with the standard 540 motor. I do also have a torque-tuned motor, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see with the high-speed gear set, just with the standard 540, because I do intend to sort of just use this a little bit, guys. And if anyone is out there and does know, these sort of shorter wheelbase cars with a 2S LiPo and the 540 do perform quite well. So as you can see, guys, I was quite lucky with what was included in the car, to be honest. You know, to open it up and find the ball diffs, to find pretty much everything has bearings. I only really need to add a few bearings to this car. And as you can see, the wheels and tyres are in very good condition. So, you know, what's next for this car? I'm probably going to continue to dismantle it. So another tip that I can give you guys is, when building a car that you don't have a manual for, you can get online and just type into Google Tamiya manual. You bring up a website and you can search any manual you want. But, you know, if that's not convenient, you can always just put pieces side by side. So we've got our new part here, our old part there, and you can just simply swap the parts over. Now, so what I've done, guys, is I've swapped the bearings and the gears and whatnot. So we're going to use our high-speed gear set, which is the black gear. And as you can see, it's very similar to the original gear. And obviously, you have a different counter gear as well. So we're going to put those in for the build. And it's easier to do now than, you know, test it without and go from there. So that's the rear gearbox, guys, put together. So I'm going to do the same process in sort of undoing the front sections. and swapping those over to the new chassis parts. Guys, so we've got our chassis rebuilt. We've got the front gearbox in, the rear gearbox in, the central chassis parts replaced. It's all screwed together, so it's all come together quite nicely. We've got our servo mounted in there as well. So just a quick tip, guys, when you are putting the front two gearbox parts together, you do need to install the servo at that stage as well. So obviously, because it's a four-wheel drive car, we need to link the rear gearbox to the front gearbox. So we have our drive shaft here. So this car had the Tamiya upgraded part to start with. So we'll just go and put that in now. And that should just slide straight into place pretty easily here. There's some guide markers there. Okay, so that's in there now, guys. So there is two gearbox, as you can see, that's gone in there. So there's two gearbox cover plates that hold that into place. So I'll go and put those on. And we've got our chassis done, guys. It's just a matter of attaching the suspension components. So I've given these a bit of a clean. They go on pretty simply. They just obviously slide into the chassis section here. You've got your pins, obviously go through here, through the chassis component, and then screw these onto the car. And obviously we've got our front dog bones. Just put a little bit of anti-wear grease on those. We will slide our front drive input into there. Obviously we'll put one side of the dog bone into there and bring this one up to meet that. Obviously just spin that round so it beds in properly. There we go. And then it's just a matter of attaching the top arm mount into the chassis and screwing that in there, guys. So once that is in, once that's in there now, guys, so you can see that obviously that's the front section, and obviously how our front steering and suspension is installed. So obviously as we get the bumper bar on and we get the dampers on, that'll look a lot nicer and come together a lot better. So I'll get on and do all the other three sides to the car, and then we'll pretty much have a rolling car. So as you can see, guys, I have attached all of the suspension components to the chassis. I've placed some electrics in the car, so I've chosen the TEU 104BK. Just got to put a receiver into the car, but I think it's come together quite nicely, and I'm going to tidy up some of that wiring. So there you go, guys. There is the MF01X build. As you can see, I've got it all together there. I've thrown in some electrics. I'm just waiting on the shock absorbers to arrive, because I don't want to use the pogo sticks that it comes with. I ordered those some time ago from Hong Kong, and just postage seems very, very slow at the moment out of there. So the next video we're going to look at doing obviously the body. I've cut the body out. We're going to paint that. We've got the decals and the mirrors to go on. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you would consider to hit like and subscribe, that would be very much appreciated, and I'll see you on the next video.